Fresh and
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fresh and Buds, and I am Tommy Fresh, your host, and you are all my buds, and I am once again joined by a bud that's really coming in clutch for me. Unfortunately, I recorded a episode with Carolina. You might know her from Twitter, Bitchy Valor. And unfortunately, we had a lot of technical issues. I'm going to still try to save the episode, but it's just going to take a lot of work to try and do that. So in the meantime, I thought, why not get my dear friend, Mr. Az from Go Again Gaming. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well, mate. Thank you very much. I got the call today. I was just like, oh, yeah, can you jump on the pod at short notice? I'm like, yeah, all right, then let's do it. So yeah, what better way to get me back onto the pod than by some short notice shenanigans? So thank you very much for reaching out.
Yeah. I know. It sounds like you might be second best, but you know that you're first in my heart always. You're first in all of our hearts. Let's be real. You know, you're a beloved member of this community, and it shows by the amount of last minute listener questions we got for you, which we'll be going into. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna take it easy. It's just gonna be two friends hanging out. This is the idea of this podcast, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then we're gonna talk about some outsider stuff because I didn't get to chat about it on the podcast yet because I recorded last week's episode a little bit early.
Yeah.
So. It's very exciting, and I'm sure you're pretty stoked as well.
Absolutely,
as it can, I can tell from your background right now, which is
that's right. Yeah. Can the listeners see this? They can't, can they?
Actually, on YouTube, you can now see.
Oh, you can.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
you can. I'm going into the visual space on
the
YouTube.
face space. Yeah,
the face space. I've finally stopped yelling at kids on my lawn. I'm getting with the times here, so it's gonna be
sounds like a new Flesh and Blood card, doesn't it? The face space rather than a race face, it's the face space instead.
Space, yeah. Well, that's actually where the guy goes when the dude erases his face.
Yeah.
He goes to the face.
It's like the reverse art. You've seen the reverse art playmat. It's like that.
Yeah,
That's the
so
name.
cool.
It's the name for that. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So, before we get to, just what we're doing here, I do want to shout out to the Patreon, which is right in the show notes where you can help keep the mics hot and the lights on. It is super helpful. You get access to some bonus episodes. You get a little Romping Club membership card, which also gives you access to a Patreon exclusive Buds channel in the Buds Discord. It's called the Romping Club. All the Patreon members hang out there. Az is in there actually, which is
I should have brought it down, Tom. I should have brought it down.
That's all good.
Here we go.
But every little bit helps. You get some access to kind of get involved with the content that I put out, and it's all very wonderful and not required, obviously, but every little bit helps. And also, got a shout out to the other podcast that I do, the Bud Rush Bellow, with my dear friend Mr. Viz, aka Gary, which we do on YouTube at 9:30 Eastern Wednesdays. So a lot of fun there, kind of hanging out. Actually, we're recording this on Wednesday, so I'm getting ready actually to do this podcast, then hop onto the Combat Chain to do a Goliath Gauntlet thing with them, and then I'm going right live with the Bud Rush Bellow, which could be a ton of fun. So, nice. And trying to build up the YouTube, hence going visual. At 500 subscribers, I will be doing a full adult Levia cosplay live, which I think is a terrible idea, but
it's a great idea.
Anything for the buds, but hopefully we get there soon. We're creeping up there. So, Ash, how are you, my friend? I know it's opened the show with how are you doing, but how are you really doing? What is new with you?
So yeah, I'm doing really well actually. So people that are listening to this or watching this now or in the future will be able to find out what I've been doing recently, because I released a vlog of the Battle Hardened event in Leeds, which I actually played in and went to, and it was really awesome. I played with Azalea, of course. It's the first like really competitive event that I've ever been to be honest. Outside of just sort of armories and stuff. But yeah, it was eye opening because like a lot of us that are listening to this now or what have you, probably a lot of us have like played online, like via webcam or via Talishar a lot recently. But these games that you play online have no sort of prevalence as to playing in the flesh and blood with people in that level event. It takes a lot out of you. Playing 8 rounds of CC is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Like shout out to the pros that do it like all the time. But yeah, after 8 rounds, I was like, bloody hell, that's mental.
Yeah.
So it puts it into perspective, doesn't it? Really, like you can play as much Talishar as you want, you can play as much online webcam games as you want, but it doesn't. It's not the same when you get into that. When you get into that space, it's very different, and it's amazing. Really is.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I also played a Battle Hardened this past weekend. So Leeds was happening and Battle Hardened New Jersey was happening at the same time. I totally get you with like the mental, the mental drain. Like I played 7 rounds on the Saturday, and then I did the Super Pro Quest thing that they were doing there the next day, which is actually it was 8 rounds the first day, 7 rounds the second day, which it is a lot. I think
15 rounds in total.
Yeah, it's insane. So I mean, I went out for a drink on the Saturday with some old high school friends, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I contributed anything to any conversation. He told me that he's having a baby, and I just was kind of like, it took me a minute to like realize, wait, what? Like my brain
Hold
was,
on a sec. Yeah,
my brain was just shot. But looking at Leeds, I mean, on top of playing 8 rounds of CC, it looked like there was all ice heroes in the top 8 from what I saw. So and that is an extra. Playing against ice heroes, let's be real, is an extra. It's like playing 2 rounds because
pretty much. Yeah, that's right. That's probably why it felt so long, because we're just playing into so much ice. It just felt like 16 rounds instead of CC, because everything was costing you an extra card essentially. It wasn't Azalea at least, but yeah, that's right. So the top 8 in, I don't know about anywhere else because I haven't really caught up with it, but in top 8 in Leeds was all ice heroes. I think it was 4 Icelanders, 4 Oldims, if I remember correctly. But that's not what I saw in the rounds of Swiss. I saw, and you can see this pretty much around the world, that the meta is completely open. Not that I really take much notice of that. But it was interesting because I thought, I'm going to run into Fies. I can redden the ledger them out of the game. I'm going to run into Briars because maybe it's her last hurrah. Maybe I'm going to run into Icelanders because of the World Championship situation. But that was not the case at all. It was so wide open that I was sideboarding from game to game. That got into my head because no matchup was ever the same as the last one.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all stacks on top of each other. But it was amazing nonetheless. I like the fact, I know a lot of people say, it's about the trifecta of heroes, like it was like Chain, Starvo, Prism situation. But this whole meta that you don't have a clue what's going on was really fun to be a part of. But obviously there is the ones that rise to the top, and all of them in Leeds at least were all ice. I don't know about what you saw. But...
it was pretty diverse in Battle Hardened, New Jersey. Every single hero was represented. There was one Leviah. Nice. I'll let you guess who that was. And
was that you? Was it?
Yeah. And then
fantastic.
There was one Arachne, which is another friend of the show, Tommy Tops Picks. And 2 Tommies playing single heroes in the meta, but I believe Oldham took it down. But it was interesting. I think we had a Bravo in the top 8, and some other stuff. But yeah, it's wide open. I think Leeds is interesting because it was just all ice in the top 8, but I think that is not a true indicator of the meta at large. And I mean, different areas have different metas, and maybe Leeds is just a little more icy over there. So, but I'm glad to hear you were playing Azalea, and we're gonna get into some Azalea stuff. Don't worry, but the cult leader is doing what the cult leader should be doing and playing Azalea. So
to varying levels of success, the Azalea cult is not the place to go for meta strategy and everything. It's more of like a fan club for the praise be our supreme leader and stuff. It's more of a fan club, and like a show the character love club. Basically, we like to cover all aspects of the character, but it's not like hyper competitive. You know, you look at Levi Rauch, who's the best guy at playing Azalea, and he consistently gets her into top 8. He's in the Discord. He chips in every now and again, happy to help people that are discovering Azalea, and that's going to happen as well with the next set. The Azalea is one of the main characters in the next set, so people are going to want to know these things. So yeah, but yeah, very much a fan club. So yeah, I took her to I went 3-5 in the event essentially. So I won 3 games and lost 5, but all those matchups are different. So I'll quickly go through them quickly, the matchups that I had. So the first one was against Oldhim, so I lost that one. The second one was against Bravo, which I lost that one. So 2 Guardians straight off the bat. Then I had on the third game was Lexi, which I lost against because they just had a massive Art of War 3 of a kind turn. Azalea can't really do that because she only has 1 Arsenal zone most of the time. Fourth was against Arachne, which went to fatigue. And eventually the Arachne got me at the end. But I did there was a very interesting interaction at the end of this one. I remember this one quite a lot. I read Ravenous Rabble, and I had no cards in my deck, so I didn't reveal a card. So I was Ravenous Rabbling for 5.
Oh, that's
awesome. And I was like, this is what Briar feels like. Ravenous Rabbling for 5, revealing a Gorganian tome. So yeah, that was nice. And then I came in with a massive dominated headshot at the end, but they could still block enough to then kill me when I had no deck left. So weapons, obviously, beating range is in the fatigue strategy because you can't swing an arrow. You can't poke them with it. You just have to fire it, and you don't have any resources to do it. Then the 5th game was against Icelander, which I won. So that took me to 1-5. The next game was then against another Bravo, which killed me. Guardians are hard matchups for us. And then I played against an Azalea mirror match, which is brilliant because I was not expecting to have like an Azalea mirror match on the bottom tables at the end of the day. And that's just like so fitting. Is like me playing Azalea facing another Azalea player, which I obviously won that one because I know that in and out at least. Because a lot of cult members challenge us on the live streams. Like, they pop in with their Azalea deck to try and take me down, sort of situation. And then the last match was against Lexi. So I played 2 Lexis and 2 Bravos. That was the only duplicate heroes I played on the day. And the last game I beat the Lexi player this time round. So yeah, 3-5 ain't bad for the first sort of competitive event I've ever been to. Made a few errors, but you do, especially if you've played online and stuff and played casually for so long, you go into a competitive event, you get a bit of pressure, and then suddenly it's like, oh wow, okay, this is. Yeah, you do make mistakes, so yeah, it's good learning experience, really.
Yeah, it sounds awesome, and that's the thing when we play heroes like Levia, like Azalea, like Bolton, right? You know, you're out there for a good time, right? So if folks will ask us, well, why do you play the whole 8 rounds? Well, why not, right? It's
exactly.
Might as well have some fun. I was sitting next to a Azalea in Jersey. And it was up in because I started off hot, right, and then I lost my later rounds, and so I was at like the X1 tables, like only 1 loss, and I was sitting next to an Azalea, and they were playing actually a Bud, Binary World, Dimitri, and who actually top 8'd both tournaments that weekend, which was awesome on Bravo.
Well done.
And he's awesome. He sat down against the Azalea. He's like, oh yes. He's like, I never get to play this matchup. And the Azalea player, I was just watching. It's like this deck is so cool, and I want to learn it. And I told Jim this when I had him on, and it's next on the list, especially with Outsiders coming out. So all very exciting. Now, in terms of the world of Az, beyond just playing, how's the Living Legend podcast going? How is the Azalea cult going? And how's the channel going in general?
Yeah. So Living Legends was and is continues to be one of my favourite parts of the week. Just getting together with Bill and Kel and just speaking about all aspects of the game. So yeah, that's always a good thing to the week. There's actually a little behind the scenes of Living Legends on my recent vlog video as well, so you can see what it actually looks like when we're actually doing these things. We're just like us right now. We're sat in front of a computer, in front of a Discord call or a Zencaster or whatever, and then just recording the screens as it shows. But yeah, but for the audience, you know, if you get a 3D back, I was like this, like holding my GoPro up like this, recording. So yeah, you get a nice little indicator of that. But yeah, Living Legends, really really cool, love it. Azalea Cult, of course, one of the namesakes of the channel now. Go Again Gaming is the Azalea Cult. You know, we're well positioned at the moment with Outsiders coming out, where we can just talk about everything and everything pits related, whether it's Azalea or not. Me and Jim are going to absolutely revel in it, that's for sure. And yeah, the channel in general is just going really well. So yeah, loving life at the moment. Another thing that I did recently was the fifth Go Again Gaming Open tournament, which is like a live stream tournament, which I put on every now and again. And that was really really cool. Ziggy won that with Dorinthia Quicksilver Prodigy. He won with, it was a blitz tournament, and I do encourage, you know, the outside of the box heroes. A lot of people sometimes bring. There was a player who's bringing Cav Dane before they had to drop out. So there's loads of other represented heroes in there. It was a Benji and Dorinthia final. And that was before we knew that Benji is in Outsiders. That's a good segue.
Yeah, it sure is. For whatever reason, I guess we will find out.
Yeah.
But it is... yeah, I mean, I follow, you know, all of your stuff. I'm in your Discord. It's just everything's going great over in the Go Again Gaming realm, and I love to see it because, you know, I like to see the buds do well, and that's awesome. Is there anything in 2023 that like folks can kind of maybe kind of look forward to from you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I want to do, but that's not necessarily things I can do. I mean, this is the thing as well. This is a negative, right, of being a creative mind. You want to do everything, but you can't do everything. So, you know, it's hard sometimes to process that as a creative mind, because you want to do and give everything to everyone at all times, but sometimes you can't, unfortunately. So yeah, there's loads of things I want to do. I think one of the main things I want to do is just get out to the local game store and play more, because there isn't really one that's near me. So I want to try and travel to the closest one more often. And with the local game store stuff, I want to also try and do more like local game store spotlights that I used to do. So I think like the first year I started Go Again Gaming, I was doing these Let's Visit the Game Store videos. So I want to do more of those, and so there's a few more of those that are up for doing it this year. So it's probably going to get 3 or 4 more local game store visit videos out this year, which I spend a lot of time on. As well as that, coupled with travel vlogs, I'm definitely going to be going to Worlds. That is for sure. Red Zone Rogue and Bill from Spike Feeders Living Legends are also pledged to go, no matter when it is. So we want to make it a priority to go to Worlds. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, loads of other things I want to do. I want to do like a trivia game show, which I've invited you on to play as well at some stage. And loads of other things as well. So yeah, lots going on, but not necessarily can do all of them at once. So we'll see.
No, I feel you. I'm the same way, right? You know, you want to do a billion different things. Even I was like trying to start this new show, and then like you know I filmed it, and it just wasn't getting to where I was happy with it, and I realized it's like maybe I don't really have the means to kind of create this thing that was in my mind, and you're just like it's frustrating. You just want to you want to make these things that are in your mind, and then you know you hit roadblocks. So I totally get it, but I have no doubt that this year is going to be great, and hopefully we get to hang out in the flesh and blood this year at some point.
Yeah,
because I missed Worlds, but hopefully I'm not missing it this year. So,
I mean, because you work like a job as well, don't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like for us that are working jobs elsewhere outside of this hobby, which is ultimately what we're doing, most of us. It's about sort of just reserving. I don't know whether you get holiday or anything. With me, it's like I get allocated holiday. I can use it to book off a certain amount of time for the year. That's what I basically need to do. I need to reserve holiday for when Worlds gets announced. I can be like, right, I want to have this time off. Essentially, that's what I have to do. Not sure about you, what you have to do. But
yeah, I mean that's the exact same thing, right? And that's why I try to when I do Flesh and Blood things. I try to do them on the weekends. Like
Yeah.
the Calling Indianapolis is coming up in a couple weeks here. I took off Friday and Monday, so I'm only
nice.
using 2 days, but I'm getting 4 days of Flesh and Blood,
Good
which
idea.
is nice. It's tough. It is a tough thing. Like I think gosh, I mean, I know you and I would love to just do this full time, but it's just not feasible, right? It's just not.
No.
It's not that easy to do. But
Yeah.
maybe one day, as soon we'll just be
that's right.
podcasting all day.
Yeah, absolutely, all day, every day. Love your life.
But that will bring us to some listener questions if you're down for some. I think we got some great ones from the Buds Discord, which anybody can join. It's in the show notes.
Fantastic. Yeah.
First, we got one from someone named Jim. I don't know who it is. He asked,
okay,
how awesome is your Azalea cult co-host?
Oh, yeah, he's all right. Jim from Fab TCG Cards. Yeah, he's all right, I guess. No, yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah, lovely guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves Azalea as much as I do, and again, is all about the casual side of things, and not taking the game too seriously, but just showing love for the characters that didn't get too much love, but probably will be with the next set. We'll see.
Oh yeah. No, and Jim's awesome. Anybody who listens to that episode that he was on, if you haven't, go check it out. But Jim's great, and it's nice to see two Azalea lovers kind of combine, right?
Absolutely.
To create this nice booming voice for the Azalea lovers out there, which is great. Next comes from Greg, aka Darth Prentice, our producer, who's still taking care of a new baby.
Congrats, Greg. Nice one.
He has actually two questions. First is, what type of deodorant does Az wear? He strikes me as an Old Spice. Original scent kind of guy.
Original scent. So that's half correct. I don't know whether he's maybe seen an Old Spice bottle in like the background of one of the videos or something, but yes. I did take an Old Spice deodorant to Worlds actually, but it wasn't the original Terry Crews scent. It wasn't that one. It wasn't like the one where he sat there with the drums, like with pads on his biceps, and he's tensing it. It wasn't none of that nonsense. It was. I think it was called Night Panther was the one it was called. So yeah, because it comes in like I got it for Christmas. I think might be the one, because you get like gift sets. You get the deodorants as well as like the shower gels.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not nice little typical Christmas stocking present. So yeah, that answers the question quite well. I think I was wearing it, Greg. Absolutely.
I know the Night Panthers scent well. I am more of a Kraken, Old Spice Kraken user.
That's a good one.
I like that one, because I also just like anything with tentacles, I guess. But
absolutely. Yeah. Got to be on theme.
You gotta keep it going.
Yeah.
And Greg also has recently on your on the Living Legends podcast, you mentioned that you cut Endless Arrow from your current deck. What was your reasoning, and would you recommend this for most Ranger decks?
Yeah, so my old iteration of the Azalea deck that I had was mainly running things that cared about like sort of value in the moment, and that's like Endless Arrow is like value in the moment. So if they allow Endless Arrow to hit, you essentially get it back to hand, so you can arsenal it. So you're not losing the 5-card hand. You're basically, if you hit them with it, it comes back. Normally you can't fire it again unless you're under sort of special circumstances. So you basically just use that as a weapon swing essentially, and it comes back to your hand and you arsenal it. But Snatch also does this. So in Azalea, I used to run Snatch, because if you don't have any other cards, just say you had a massive defensive turn on your last turn, you can at least crack back with a 0-cost Snatch, which they then have to think about blocking, because you're going to draw and put that card into your arsenal, which gives you 5 cards on your next turn or defensive turn. But then then Drill Shot came out from Dynasty, and it just seems to be putting on a lot more work against the matchups that are worst against, that we're worst against, like the Guardians. If you Drill Shot them, they're less inclined to block with their armor, because it sometimes has piercing. If you put aim counters on it, that is. Normally it doesn't have aim counters, but still, if you're getting a hit through on the Dread Shot on the Drill Shot, you can put the -1 counters on their armor pieces, which makes their fridge less effective, which is the most annoying thing. And against warriors as well, breaking down that fridge and having those blocks become less when you need it to become less at the end of the game, when you want to get the hits through, is a much better piece of incremental value rather than trying to get a bit of card draw in the moment situation. So, but yeah, Endless Arrow again is very, very good. Similar to Snatch as well in like matchups where you probably lose anyway, like Dromai. If you fire an Endless Arrow at an Ashwing, you're guaranteed a hit. But that's not getting you anywhere in that matchup. If you're firing out arrows at dragons, you've already lost pretty much. So yeah, that's ultimately why it came out, because I just think Drill Shot is better in most situations against anything else at the moment. So
yeah, I will say Drill Shot seems to be the biggest thing to come out of Dynasty that really beefed up these Ranger decks, and you know, we'll talk about it in a bit, but that's only the beginning. I mean, it's shaping up to be the year of the Ranger. Now we have a question from Salty Seacat, who asks, other than Azalea Supreme Leader, may she reign, what's your favorite hero for UPF?
Favorite hero for UPF? You can make any hero fun for UPF. You can put, Crowns of Dominion on any character to make them royal, even though that's become meta now, apparently. You can do loads of different things with any heroes, but I think the ones that stand out at the moment are like the merchants, just sheerly because they enforce like a different game style. You can sort of politic your way and say, right, if I give you a gold or if I give you this and I make your life less, like Kavdane's ability or Genius's ability and all that sort of thing. You can use that to your advantage in social situations like that, where you can just say, "Oh, right, I gave you this last turn. Just don't attack me. Are we happy to make that deal? Yeah, okay." And they'll go into the next player. Things like that. I think we're going to see more and more mechanics sort of get released for that sort of style of play, which I think is going to be nice for that. But yeah, all heroes are fun to play. But yeah, Merchant's my favorite in the UPF, I think.
Oh yeah, Merchant's a ton of fun. I have a Typonus deck for UPF that I've been really enjoying.
That's a good one.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
How did you get that?
Actually, I got it. I bought it from Mo Bogsley, who had like some car issues, and he was like, "I'm trying to sell some cards." I was like, "What do you have?" And he had Typonus. I was like, I don't have that, so
why not?
It's pretty cool. So, enjoying that quite a bit. Nice. Our good friend Patty Shaw, Pat Smash Good, asks, is the cult open to future Rangers, or are we specifically simping for Azalea? Will you treat Riptide with the same reverence?
I think I'd treat Riptide with the same reverence, surely because I reckon he'd beat the living hell out of me if I didn't. But yeah, I mean, I think the Azalea cult, to a certain degree, will always be about Azalea in all of her iterations. If she gets a new printing in the future, I'm sure she probably will, and at some stage we'll cover that. But I think the Azalea cult has to touch on Lexi, has to touch on Riptide, has to touch on all the Rangers that come out, because ultimately there is going to be some crossover as to what happens and how they work. So yeah, I think the cult is always going to be open to, especially Rangers or characters from the pits, where Azalea is from. There's going to be some correlation between them. So yes, Pat, we will be talking about that on the Azalea cult in some sort of enforcement in the future.
Next question comes from Capolo, our dear friend. Who asks, we are going to have 2 heroes per class. Do you think the new heroes will have some deck building restrictions so that you can only play a subset of the class cards? I mean, we'll kind of get into this, but, do you think because, there's no real talent that we know of, do you think we're going to have any kind of restrictions?
I don't think so, no, only because, the hybrid thing is it's just their way of opening up the limited format, isn't it? You don't want to put raw restrictions on it if they're trying to open it up in the first place. So it's like, for people that are watching this, or if you know as well, there used to be the hybrid mana symbol for Magic. So it basically meant that you could use either green or red to fuel one symbol, which was a mixture of green and red. So you could use either green or red to use that to use that thing or that spell, that creature. I think it's going to be similar to this, where there's going to be certain things that gives you payoff if you're in a certain class or in a certain thing or comboed with another card, but ultimately that class or that representation of what that means, people can access both. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be much restrictions. I think it's going to be more open than anything, to be honest. We'll see though.
We will see. Yeah, I think I'm
Yeah.
I'm on that side of the fence with you. Next question comes from Dead Summer Art, Kale.
Mm-hmm.
What heroes would make the greatest metal band in Wraith, and what instruments would they play?
Wow. Okay. um, so yeah, the instrument variation of this could be, you could picture anyone and anything, but I think Chain is like the ultimate sort of black metal vocalist with the long sort of black hair, and you can see him like screaming into a microphone. I could see like Azalea on like lead guitar or something like that. Levia potentially on the drums because she can tentacle multiple things. It's like the octopus in Finding Nemo. It's just like.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, but yeah, it's got to be those any sort of dark and dingy, shadowy heroes. They definitely find their place in like a metal band for sure.
Absolutely, and if we're going even like classic hair metal, I could see Bravo as a lead singer. Oh my god, and
absolutely.
I don't think we're going to see Prism in any of these bands, but
no,
it could be could surprise us. Like all of a sudden comes out there like it's like, oh, who's this, and then just starts shredding.
Awesome. yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dromage, like Dragon Force guitar style things. Yeah, awesome.
Next, we have a question from Azor, who asks, for a shoey, should you use a sneaker or a boot? And Greg also asks, which hero is most likely to do a shoey?
I think the party goers, like Bravo, star of the show, always wants to show off. I reckon he'd happily do a shoey out of his ironhide legs. But yeah, I think it's always more secure in like a leathery boot style. If you got a sneaker on, normally got the spongy insoles, so the drink sort of seeps into the spongy insoles, which can be a bit of an issue. So if you got like a leathery boot, that's probably easier to drink out of. And the shoey obviously hails from Australia, I believe it is, where the Formula One drivers drink a shoey out of their boot after the race. And I think they have like leathery overalls on, so it makes sense to have like a leathery shoe boot situation.
I'm just thinking Mage Master boots. That's probably like the best way to do a shoey. And Azor also asks, as a lover of chaos and being aligned with the Rakdos Guild from the hashtag band game, aka Magic the Gathering, how do you explain liking those effects that kind of to the Flesh and Blood world, I guess?
Yeah. So yeah, Andrew is Azor. There's known me for quite a while, and he knows that I love the chaos. I love the sort of in the moment style things, playing cards off the top without paying for their costs in Magic and all that sort of thing. So in Flesh and Blood, it doesn't really make any sense whatsoever that I like things like Dreadbore, which is more of a control. So it doesn't make sense at all, Azor, is what I'm saying. I have no explanation for you, but that's the nature of chaos. That's the nature of Rakdos. You don't know where you're going to be from one moment to the next, and therefore that's the reason. So
I think it's tough. It's like it's so weird, right? I've shown the game to friends of mine who are huge control players in Magic. I'm like, this is the control style in Flesh and Blood, and they're like, I don't like this. Doesn't feel like control to me. And then I know folks that like love like aggro, and then in Magic, and then all of a sudden they come over. It's like, hey, I want to turtle all day, like block for days. It's so weird how stark the differences are. Well, we have a question from Greg, Big Dick Jones from the Discord. If you had to pick a hero to fist fight, who would it be and why?
Kano. I'd punch him straight in the face.
That's a great answer.
He's just got one of those faces that you just want to punch.
Yeah, he does. He looks like he's looking down on you. He looks like he's
Yeah,
like just said something really just scathing. And
exactly. Yeah, just thinks he's better than everybody else, and just like, shut up, Kano. You rubbish in physical combat. You just have to play off the top. Yeah, yeah.
uh, next question comes from Popo Mike, Mike Popovich, who makes great cocktails.
Oh
As
yes.
a non-American, what's your take on the
Mm.
reaction to Baltimore being named the location to Pro Tour 3? Now, a lot of folks have concerns about the safety and whatnot. I tend to be on the fence that it's a city. Be careful regardless. I'm excited for Pro Tour Baltimore. I love crabs and seafood, so I'm all on board. What about you?
Yeah.
From across the pond, because you're the outsider looking in.
Yeah. So first of all, crabs. What is it? Seafood's popular, is it, or something?
Crabs, yes,
Crabs.
yes. They say in Maryland, which is where Baltimore is, all they have is crabs and football. So, a lot of Old Bay seasoning, if you ever had that. So, like a lot of crab cakes, just crab boils, just
Like crab trucks and stuff. Like
yeah, just like just a lot
okay.
of seafood.
Nice, lovely. I would eat a lot of crab if I was there. So yeah. When I heard the Twitter speak go off about it and stuff, and I had to have a look myself, and it's if you type in the most dangerous cities in the USA, it does come up on some of the lists, right? Unfortunately, that's what happens. I don't know where the data is pulled from. I'm not a data analyst or anything like that, but it does come up on the list, which is a bit sort of like, okay, but then again, you can't live your life in fear of statistics. If you lived your life in fear of things, you wouldn't get in a car. You wouldn't do half the things you normally do on a day-to-day basis. You just have to have your wits about you at all times, like you would in any other city. London is not, you go down the wrong street, it's not a good idea. There's going to be economically deprived areas which are crime hubs and stuff, and it's the same in any city. There's going to be places where ideally you don't want to end up. So just do your research and stay close to the venue, stay close to where your friends are and where your hotel rooms are and stuff, and you should be okay, really. So
Yeah. I implore everybody to be careful and mindful, but also it is a city, and sometimes cities can be dangerous, but they can also be wonderful. There's a lot of history in Baltimore. Edgar Allan Poe, just name it. Like Baltimore's got it, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, be careful, be as careful as you want to be, but I plan on having a ton of fun there.
Nice.
And the last listener question comes from Sigma, who basically he wants to know, does it take a mental toll on you that Azalea isn't quite the strongest hero, is kind of in that lower echelon of heroes? Now, and I know you're not much of a meta slave or anything like that. You like to have fun, but sometimes it sucks when your deck isn't winning. Does that take a mental toll on
you? I think if you're straight away, if you're playing heroes like Azalea, playing heroes like Levia, playing heroes that are bolt-in as well, they're not known for getting all these amazing results. I think from the very, very beginning, if you're choosing to play a character like that, you're playing the game for a different reason to most. You're playing because you love the character. So to a certain degree, I don't think that is ever going to burn you out, because you love the character, you love what they do, you love their mechanics, love the interactions, how they put cards in their arsenal or whatever. So yeah, I don't think it will have a toll on you. And with Azalea especially, it's all part of her character. It's all part of the representation of what she's about. She's grew up in the pit. She's grew up with adversity. She's grew up with having to overcome these challenges. And similar to when you play Azalea, if you lose, you just like, yeah, okay, on to the next one. That's part of the mentality of the hero. So it's the same as when you win. You're like, oh, wow, that felt really good because I won. I got through the adversity. I got through the fact that my deck isn't as tuned as anybody else's. I don't get access to lightning and ice and all this sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's if you choose to adapt one of these heroes, and adopt one of these heroes, sorry, that's all part of the mentality that you have to have from the offset, I think. So no, it doesn't burn me out. I'm sure you're the same as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at probably my results in like larger tournaments with Levia over the past 2 years or a year and a half or however long I've been playing with her, it's probably I probably have a 500 record, right? 50-50. You know, you win some, you
Yeah.
lose some. You know, that's just the nature of the beast, right? But
Mm.
you know, I've taken breaks from Levi, and I'm always happy to come back, right? You know,
Yeah.
like you said, you know, we're on board with these heroes. I like look at Endless Ball. I'm like, there's no way I'm not gonna play this card.
Exactly. Yeah.
This card's awesome. Like that's what I
The
want.
amount of bloody teeth on the thing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Dread Screamer keeps me up at night. That's so terrifying.
Exactly.
I just want to play it. So you know, that's just the way it is now.
Yeah.
Those were the listener questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful questions. If
Yeah, thank
anybody
you.
has any interest in giving some listener questions in the future, check out the Buds Discord, which you can find in the show notes. So let's talk about some outsiders.
Uh-huh.
Well, I can imagine you're very excited as,
Very much so, yeah.
and I am too, right?
Mm.
A little bit bummed. I will say there's no brute action, and
Yeah, surprising.
And I actually, with that, I want to kick off the discussion about Riptide, right? So you look at Riptide, right? If you looked at his art and maybe didn't notice the bow on his back, you would say,
right, yeah.
This is a brute if I've ever seen
Gotta
one.
be.
Big, hulking, brute, gross,
Brute of a
disgusting
mess.
dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a ranger and a trap-based ranger, allegedly, or not allegedly, so they say. And we don't know what any of these heroes do. We just know their aesthetics and their names. So, what was your initial reaction to Riptide?
I was shocked first of all because exactly. When you see Riptide, you think, wow, a massive hulking, brutish type character that looks like he's gonna rip someone apart with sheer force rather than setting traps to kill people or win the game. So it's going to be interesting to see how that mechanic works with him. But yeah, at first glance, it did not look like a ranger. As you said on the art, you can see the bow on his back, but the main sort of draw to his art is the fact that he's got like a prosthetic arm thing in his left arm, but then his right arm is carrying like an anchor, like a massive anchor that's spearing through a character. Unfortunately for them. But yeah, that says to me that obviously Riptide can use a bow, and as a ranger, inherently their bow has been their weapon the entire time, but potentially could use some form of a weapon. There was an interesting theory from Joey from Decks and Drafts that there might be like a double-sided weapon where you can flip it from melee to range, like from bow to offhand, which would be quite cool. That could be a nice flavor, like a double-sided weapon.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. It would be tough. I feel like it'd be tough to do that as a token, but maybe if they printed it as a majestic, or something like that. Because if you look at like the invokes from Uprising, I personally am my initial reaction that it wasn't a brute. I was sad. But I've come along on it, and it's like I've stayed away from Ranger, right, for quite some time, and I think Riptide's the one that's going to really bring me over to the.
You've never played any Ranger before, not even Lexi or anything.
I played Lexi in Limited quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
And I've messed around with some stuff on Talishar or whatever, but I think I'm very excited for Riptide because of that potential anchor thing. Right, I'm hoping that is a weapon, right? That he can also use a bow, but maybe they're not going to focus on the bow. Now, something also worth noting is his life total's lower than 40 and 20. So that when they do that, usually there's a power balance, right? So what is that power balance? We don't really know. I've heard some people think that maybe he starts with a trap in the arsenal or something like that because he's trap based or something like that. What is your take on the lower life total?
Yeah, so if you look at the traps that we already have, right? There was a tweet I did about this actually, and one of them is called Pitfall Trap. So it's a yellow pitch trap that blocks for 3 if you play it from your arsenal. Traps can only be played from your arsenal, of course, which is obviously the massive downside towards them. So Pitfall Trap blocks for 3 when you play it out of the arsenal, but it also says it deals 2 damage to the attacking hero unless they pay 1. I think it is. I think it's unless they pay 1 across all of the traps. So similar to Reckless Swing, where you're dealing damage to them in form of a defense reaction. So I think the sort of line of thought that I had was, if this hero can play those sorts of cards more effectively than what they're already printed, you could essentially look at Riptide having more health because he can deal direct damage when he's on the defense, essentially. And that might be something to do with this anchor as well. Like whenever you play a trap, deal 1 damage or something. So you could essentially be a defensive ranger, but still be dealing damage to them in the form of traps on their turn, which is horrendous. It's like wizards dealing damage to you on your when you're attacking, essentially. So that could be what it is, maybe. Like that.
That's interesting, and I also kind of fixed the issue with kind of defensive decks. The issue with defensive decks is you go to time, right? Because you're not really outputting damage, but all of a sudden, Riptide's outputting the damage, and it kind of fixes that. I like that kind of theory, right? Hey, you want to attack me, I'm going to trap the hell out of you, And,
exactly. Yeah. So it punishes like, well, I don't know how many times you could punish someone, but yeah, every time this is another discussion that I had on a very old video when I spoke to Joey again, Decks and Drafts, another very avid Azalea lover. We did a whole video as to how can we make Ranger better. This was one of them. It's like a bait and goad Ranger. Ranger, when you think of them, they don't want to be in fisticuffs combat with Bravo. They just don't want that to happen, right? So if you think of a Ranger as like Batman, he's always got a plan. He's always laying traps for the opponent to run into before they even get into combat, throwing smoke grenades and all this sort of thing. I think the trap-based Ranger could be thematically the best way to go, because Rangers want to fire from distance. They want to trap people, get them caught up in a bear trap so they can then go in and stab them or whatever. So yeah, I think I'm very excited as to where this goes. So yeah, I think it's on theme.
Yeah, but, absolutely. And I do feel as if the nautical theme kind of hints at the bait kind of thing that you were just saying, right?
He's got fish, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's got fish on the young art. Come on now.
He's all nautical. I mean, like I am very excited for the nautical side of it too. So it'll be interesting. So that is the Ranger for the set, and with the Ranger for the set, we do get Azalea in limited. Not a new Azalea, but she will be playable for draft, which is really it's very cool, very exciting, and it does lead me to believe that there will be a lot of cards that work with both of those heroes, and then also probably some that you look at, you're like, this is for Riptide, this is for Azalea, and I mean, I bet you're very excited to play with Azalea in a limited format.
Absolutely, he'll be one of those people that on Azalea Cult will be like, "Yep, just force Azalea. Whatever you do, just force Azalea." But yeah, I can't wait to play with her in limited and draft. And obviously we've heard from like Brian Gottlieb and other people that have been speaking about the limited format that it's going to be very, very good the way this is designed, and it's going to be a step up from, and also reminiscent of Welcome to Wraith as well, where you had specific archetypes and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Azalea, I can't wait to see what she gets. I can't wait to force her as well. So yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, she might come out of this set not being the lower echelon anymore. She could start. I mean, all of a sudden, the cult's a religion, right? And then and then you really got to be worried. Next, we have Azuri, who's we have a new assassin. We just had Arachne in Dynasty, right? So Azuri's here. She's actually wearing the Black Tech Whisperers in her adult art, and she's also hanging out with Arachne and Riptide, which is kind of crazy. So. And then the interesting thing about Azuri is her young art has the Mysteria border, which is I think is what is going to tie in Katsu and Benji to the story, right? We don't know a lot about Azuri. We don't really know a lot about, also we have a new Arachne young hero who is going to be different from the Arachne we got in Dynasty, which seems like crazy that we got it so soon, but I think it's clearly for the limited format.
Yeah.
If I'm guessing here. Now, what are your takes on Azuri and the new Arachne right off the bat here?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Azuri is, as you said, it's the borders. That's the most interesting thing. The fact that her young hero, the set's all about outsiders, people that didn't fit in, and obviously as part of the flavor text on the website, you can go and have a look, famtcg.com. It tells you that she's never been really part of that group. That's probably why she left to go to the pits or whatever, and now she's got a pits border. So it's going to be interesting to see, like lore-wise, why she did that. But there is also another connection as well to this whole thing with Katsu, and Katsu is on a quest to save his village from a disease, and maybe that's why he's in the pits, because there's a lot of diseases going around in the pits as well. So there's also a connection there potentially between Katsu, the ninja clan, Mysteria, and maybe him trying to save his village, going to the pits. Maybe Azuri is something to do with that plague that happened in his village, and she ran away to escape. There's loads of different things you could look at with this article. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and why she's there in that new form. And both art looks, both of the arts, well, all the arts, for instance, in this set look absolutely awesome.
Yes, they really do.
So yeah, and Arachne, of course, we've only got the young version, and it's Arachne's solitary confinement. It just looks horrific,
Yes, I mean, speaking of disease, the guy's got a cancerous lump on his
literally. Yeah.
I mean,
we finally know what the hump is.
Yeah.
He's definitely got the hump. And yeah, you can, and on the art as well, you can see that he's obviously in solitary confinement. It looks like he's skinned some people alive, that are just on the floor, just like dead. So yeah, it's pretty brutal. But yeah, can't wait to see what that does as well. Probably, we've seen the hidden spoiler in the article that says the next attack you have with stealth gets +3 or whatever. Maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe he's got stealth on his card or something. I don't know,
Sure.
but yeah, there's loads of speculation that we can go into. But yeah, looking forward to it nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be fun to actually get some more fleshed out assassin stuff, right? Because Arachne, we got a whole deck right out of Dynasty.
Pretty much.
In a way, it feels like very much like a starter deck that we got from that card pool. It's like, all right, this is a starter deck. It makes sense. You can play it. It's not the best. It has some good matchups. It has some really bad ones. And I expect, because Arachne's like right there already, I think. I expect either Azuri or Arachne is going to be a really tough contender for people to have to play against post outsiders. So, and then we have Ninja in this set, which Katsu and Benji's going to be playable in the draft experience, which I kind of like, right? So and any of the folks that listened, I had talked about, I think there's going to be 2 weapons. Instead, we got 2 heroes. So I think this is a really great way to open up different decks you can draft, and it's going to be very exciting. And I think, you mentioned the speculation in terms of the story. Why are Katsu and Benji here in the pits? And the disease thing makes sense. I mean, look at Riptide, look at Arachne. I mean, they look diseased.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
They are gross,
Yeah.
And it's and then also the question of Azuri, the young hero Mysteria, definitely came from Mysteria, and they're coming to see maybe, hey, what's the deal? Why'd you leave Mysteria? And then she shows up with her crew, Riptide and Arachne. At least in the adult hero version, it looks like she's about to kick some ass with her cronies, which is very cool. Now the biggest thing here, so we have ninja assassin and ranger. No talents that we can see, and I think this is why we have the hybrid cards, which we saw the Codex of Frailty, right? The Codex of Frailty, very cool. We're going to get marvels of each codex. I think that's very, very, very awesome. I think the alternate art treatment is very cool. As long as they don't overdo it in future sets, I'm cool with it. What's your take on these hybrid cards?
Yeah, I think they're awesome. I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, but yeah, I think it's great to keep the limited stuff open as well. So if you draft a certain card, you can still remain open for. Because if you draft like a ranger assassin card, you can still go into both ranger or assassin later after you've seen like one cycle, or based on your limited pool or what have you. It's really really cool. I really really like it. there's been a few concerns about how this could make the meta like homogenous. We know if there's certain heroes or certain classes that just want to run the hybrid cards all the time, you know, it could threaten that. But the pits having no talents says to me that we're not going to get these hybrid cards for a long time, or maybe it's like only these combinations of classes might be able to get them, or something like that. Because obviously, every place has had a talent so far since we explored the talent system. So, is there still going to be a talent in the set, or is it just going to be hybrid cards? We still don't know at this stage, but yeah, excited for it nonetheless. Going to give a lot of people a lot of options.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, I could understand that worry about homogeny in the game, but you know, I'm just looking at Codex of Frailty. Obviously, we don't know what a Frailty token is, but Codex of Frailty is a yellow majestic, cost 0, blocks for 2. It's a assassin / ranger action. So either assassins or rangers can use it. Each hero puts an attack action card from their graveyard face down into their arsenal. Each hero that does discards a card. This is clearly, this is actually just a good card in general. I think, you know, if you play this as your last card, I mean, this is awesome. And then you create a ponder token and frailty token under your opponent's control, each opponent's control. It's worth noting for UPF. Man, let's go again.
Nice to see they're putting that in there now. Like they're actually taking note of, you know, saying each hero rather than just the opposing hero, so it works in those formats as well potentially. Yeah. But yeah, I went into a massive long discussion with this with Jim on the Azalea cult, how this could literally be a replacement for Memorial Ground. So Memorial Ground is the instant in Azalea decks that puts the card that you want on top of your deck, so you can dominate it with Azalea on your next turn. But this is this can be used in a similar way, and it also blocks, which sometimes Memorial Ground just kills you because you can't block with it. Whereas this blocks for 2, which is better than nothing. It can essentially get any arrow back into your arsenal that you can then play on that turn. You are going to discard a card, but you know, if this is your last card, you can just play this and get it back, and then fire it off if it's a 0-cost arrow, or if you got a tunic trigger active, you can fire any arrow you want essentially on 0 or 1 cost. You can also put that arrow in or attack or whatever into your arsenal, and then use the Skullbone Cross Wrap to flip it up, and then opt to see what your next card is on top. So you could potentially still get an Azalea dominated trigger with the top card, even though you don't know what it is, until you opt. So if you've got a tunic or it's a 0 cost on top, you can still activate Azalea, put it into your arsenal, dominate, and fire it. So I think it's probably going to be a more consistent and reliable Memorial Ground. Plus, we don't even know what the frailty does, so that's going to make the opponent's defenses weaker in some aspect, I imagine. So you might be able to get more stuff through. And then the ponder as well. There's been a bit of discussion around this as well. So people that are watching this, leave a comment in the section below as to what your sort of take on this is. But when do you draw the card from a ponder token? So do you draw? Does that ponder crack off? You draw and then you can arsenal the card that you just drew, or do you not get to arsenal that card? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Ponder is at the beginning of your end phase. I forget when you arsenal though. You know, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I've never dealt with ponder tokens, so I've never really had to worry about it. But I mean, it's something that we're gonna have to figure out. And comment below if you know. I mean, and I'm sure people will. You know, this is a really cool card. I like playing this in the beginning of your turn, right? Because especially if your opponent doesn't have an arsenal, sure, give them the arsenal. You have to discard a card. You have one less card to block with this turn, right? This is like, hey, get card out of your hand, right? Almost like a Thoughtseize in a way, right? And that is super cool. I'm a big fan of this card. I cannot wait to see what the other hybrid cards are, but it's very exciting. I'm super stoked. I'm happy for all my Azalea cult friends and buds and like
it's growing.
It's growing, and I there is a 100% chance I'm going to build Riptide, and especially it's going to be 110% chance I'm going to keep playing Riptide if he's really bad. So
yes, let's go.
Now, before we leave, do you have any major predictions that you want to just throw out there into the universe?
Major predictions. I don't know actually. I mean, there's going to be new. So this is not the first time we've seen a hero return, has it? Or has it? Have we ever seen a hero return that's been the part of the original ones in a set?
Outside of Starvo, no.
And Starvo was a new hero essentially, wasn't he?
Yeah. This is the first time we've gotten a essentially a reprint, unless you count Rhinar in the classic battles. Dorinthia got a new version. Rhinar did not. Just want to put that out there. Brute's getting screwed out here. But...
yeah, your time will come as well, friend.
Yes.
Don't worry. Savage Lands is going to be coming, I expect. So yeah, I think then in that case, obviously we haven't seen a hero be reprinted in a set for a long time. Obviously, Katsu and Azalea being reprinted in this set now as their original versions. My prediction is that we get new specializations for those heroes. So we get a new Katsu specialization, a new Azalea specialization. Obviously, we get specializations for Riptide and Azuri, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that as well is because all of these heroes also get Blitz decks signed to them as well. So I reckon there's going to be new specializations in there that then sort of hint towards their new way to play. Because James White said to me that Sandscammer Greatbow and the aim counters is basically, in Dynasty at least, step 1 of 2. So I think Azalea is now, or can go into more aim counter territory in this next set. So there might be a Majestic that cares about that, potentially, rather than just Red in the Ledger. There's going to be something else that's more intricate, maybe, that cares about aim counters. So yeah, I'm going to say that as my prediction. There's going to be new specialization for Azalea and Katsu as the OG heroes that are being reprinted in this set, I'd say.
Sure. And Benji and Arachne's going to get probably something new as well. You know, hopefully. But
yeah.
Oh man, this was a blast, as you know, it always is, right? You know, just kindred spirits.
Past 11 already. Wow, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, right? We could have kept going.
Yeah.
Please, my friend, tell the folks and the buds out there where they can find you. Plug anything you'd like to plug.
Great, yeah. So I'm Az from the YouTube channel Go Again Gaming. So you can find me on Go Again Gaming on YouTube. And Twitter is the stream of consciousness from the aforementioned Az from Go Again Gaming. And that's Go Again Gaming AZ, where I post all sorts of different weird things on there, like weird photoshops. There was a one where I did Riptide wearing a New Horizon, a spring tunic, which was way too small for him, I might add.
I saw that one. I'm going to look that up now.
Oh, yeah. So the tunic was like hanging off of him, sort of situation. But yeah, all sorts of stuff on Twitter as well. So yeah, YouTube and Twitter are the main things. So go and check those out when you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. And a lot of the buds already, you know, they follow you and they love you, and I love you, and you're the best. Please go check out Az and everything he's doing over there. You all can continue to find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. You can, if you're watching on the YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're not watching on the YouTube, go check it out. You know, the live streams are great. You know, we do some other like gameplay every once in a while, but it's mostly podcasting. And give it an old subscribe. Help us get to the point where I'm going to paint myself purple and create tentacles to put on my head. And
I'm going to share that as much as possible now. Get to 500 because you all want to see that.
And check out the Patreon and all that fun stuff. Now, always like to talk about some food. Coppola asked me to ask you for food. When you were in the U.S. for San Jose, did you have a candy that was better than the double decker?
Interesting one to end on, actually. I didn't actually have too much chocolate when I was over there, or candy, whatever you want to call it. The main sort of place we were going was the it was called something lounge round the corner. It was basically like a food place that was just had different stalls, different things. So that was mainly where we were going. There wasn't any sort of shops where you could get that sort of thing near us, so I didn't really experiment with too much of it. But there was a vending machine outside of my hotel, where I had a late night snack once, and there was two things I got on there. One was a Musketeer bar.
Oh yeah,
I think
Musketeer. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's similar to for UK listeners, I think that's similar to like a Mars bar in the UK. It's got like a nuggety caramel filling, which is quite nice. And then I also had Almond Joy.
Almond Joy, yeah.
Yeah, so they were nice as well. So that's like coconutty almond, got like a little nut in the middle of it, which is quite nice. So quite soft, but also a nice crunch in the middle. So yeah, those were the two that I tried when I was over there. But I was mainly eating proper food while I was over there, rather than like chocolate and candy and stuff. But yeah, I did have one late night snack once, and that was what it was.
I do love
yeah.
an Almond Joy and a Three Musketeers, so that's a great
Nice.
answer in my book.
Yeah.
Though I am more of a Mounds fan. I don't know if you ever got to try Mounds. It's made by the same people that do Almond Joy. It's just dark chocolate and straight coconut, no almond in there.
Oh, okay.
But I like
Ooh,
dark
yeah, I
chocolate a
would've
little bit
liked that
better. But the coconut, it's my favorite candy bar of all time. Now,
Ooh, nice.
this is wonderful, my friends.
Yeah.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of the year if I don't see you, but we will be talking. We will be doing content together. I hope everyone listening and watching has a wonderful week. Goodbye.
Thank you.